Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
Get started with the panel discussion. We have our speakers, Jennifer Huff, Satyan Raja, and Alan Chuck, who are joined us. We also, I believe, are going to be joined by the father of the Unity Movement, Dr. Yugandhar, and also with Grandmother Parasha. Grandmother is a spiritual elder and global leader and humanitarian. She's acknowledged as being the reincarnation of Tara, of all Buddhas. She's an interpreter of ancient artifacts and stone tablets. Her outreach network covers over 100 million people and includes an organization known today as the Learning Center for Human Development, which she founded over 50 years ago. In 2012, she joined Dr. Yugandhar to carry the vision and partner in this World Parliament for Spirituality program. So we're blessed to have these two incredible people with us today in this panel discussion. And the question that we are officially supposed to talk about, but I'm sure you'll take it all different ways, is individual awakening for a global spiritual awakening. And so, Grandmother, I see you and Dr. Yugandhar are with us. Jennifer, how would you like to start off this and bring it down to the individual level for us?
So the same toroidal field that literally is at the basis of the creation of the entire universe is also at the the central channel to our ability to create. And again, we go back to that place where we're each individual creative spirits, but we're a reflection of source as a whole. So, as the individual, as the whole. And in a fractal universe, one piece changes, and therefore the entire fractal of the universe changes. So it's like saying that one drop of water makes a shift in an ocean, and the entire ocean has to modify itself around that one drop. And so from the perspective of awakening civilization, from an individual standpoint, we can even go to, I love the book about Ho'oponopono. I'm sure so many of the people that are watching right now have read a few books or watched a few seminars on Ho'oponopono. My favorite story around Ho'oponopono, which represents well what we're talking about right now, is that there was a gentleman who decided that he was going to use Ho'oponopono to be able to to be able to work in the prison system. So what he did is he actually went through the files of all the people in the prison, and they were trying to reduce the recidivism rate. And so he read all the files of the people in this prison, and then what he did is, through himself, he healed all of the issues that were that might have been present for every person in the prison.
To track spirituality and environment?
Oh, hello. And so what occurred was that as he moved through each of the people in the prison, he healed the things. He used the process of Ho'oponopono, which you can, there are many places to look it up. I forgive you, thank you, all of the things that are involved in that process. It's so beautiful. But what ended up happening is the recidivism rate went to almost nothing, where the recurrence of crime in the people that got out of that particular prison prior to him doing Ho'oponopono, the statistics were consistent with the rest of North America. And so they shifted it drastically. And that's why one person healing within himself, healing his fractal in the universe, and thereby allowing these humans to be forgiven and to live in grace, because he processed the grace through himself. So I think anyone, if we all know the story of Jesus, it's very easy to see how it's possible for one person to change the world. And I love what Satyan did earlier, because there's yet another technique to be able to process the contrast that's happening in this world right now, but process it individually. And it cannot not have a global impact. We are fractals of the universe. So that's just one perspective on the individual as a representative of the whole.
Thank you. That's really wonderful. You said something earlier in your talk when you said the universe recognizing itself and changing as it recognizes itself. And it just brings that whole thing together for me.
Yeah,
Sachin,
we're in a feedback loop, right, with the universe.
Exactly. Sachin, how about if we throw it over to you for a second? How do you see this individual awakening feeding the global awakening?
First, I'm very honored to be here with all of you esteemed leaders of consciousness. My gratitude to be here and humbleness. I believe for hundreds, if not thousands of years, individual enlightenment was the pinnacle of consciousness. If we look at all the ancient Eastern philosophies and texts and Western, there was a calling to go into move away from society, to go into some type of retreat and to find self-realization, going into the desert, going to the mountains, wherever it is. And for thousands of years, I believe that was very valuable and important to find self-realization, self-awakening. But I believe times have changed. I believe now we're in a time and a vibration on the planet where individual enlightenment is not enough, that it's the beginning. At once it was the pinnacle, but now recognition of our true nature as spirit, as divine individuals with choice, I believe is the foundation that's called upon us now to recognize, to start the good work that needs to be done. And then my recognition of my divinity, my recognition of your divinity, our recognition of each other's divinity beyond the separative consciousness starts to bring us together. So I believe we're in a very powerful time where there is now only planetary enlightenment can be our unified heart goal, our unified heart intention, because we cannot leave one person out alone. In a metaphysical journey I did years back in a medicine ceremony in the jungle, spirit came to me and I said, what is love? And it said, if you hold one being, even one being out in the whole universe from your heart, it's not true love. It's some man-made version of love. And so for me, divine union with self is the start. Then from who am I? What am I? Now I can see and feel by my seeing, Mike, your divinity, Alan, yours, these goddesses, their divinity within. It evokes even more of my own divinity. And I believe this toroidal, this infinity of recognition is the key today for all of us to move beyond the separative consciousness and return back to the already tacit knowing of our unity. So is there individual enlightenment? There is. Is it the time for it? It's past. Now there can only be collective enlightenment for the sake of the whole.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Grandmother, did you want to say something?
Yes, I actually wanted to give recognition to Alan. Chuck, Alan, I have been in the presence of Master Shah so many times, and the song you sang, I often hum when I am busy about things and I need to quiet myself. Master Shah has shared that with us, and I have had such wonderful, wonderful joy in that. So please take that message back to Master and share that I am always enhanced by his presence, please.
Thank you for sharing that, and I'd be honored to let Master Shah know.
What I would like to say to you, in what we're doing with our World Parliament and the unity that we're creating with that, and the many years that we've been working with that, do you see that things are timely at this point, that actually pulling humanity together with all of our differences, not saying or trying to actually say we have the path or we're the ones, but allowing everyone to express that individuality, whether we accept or can be of the same mind or not? Do you see that bringing world unity means to bring the diversity of humanity into a place of recognition and respect.
If I could say a few words. First of all, again, I absolutely resonate with what has been said already. You know, this is not the time to contemplate our navel, so to speak. As I said in my talk, we have to jump out to serve. We have to jump out to awaken humanity. But, you know, what power do we have to do that? Of course, we can gather in organization to build synergy, you know, increase the energy collectively. And thanks to you, grandmother, thanks to Dr. Yugandhar for this incredible organizational structure you've created. I can't imagine what kind of administrative work was involved behind the scenes, but what kind of power can we have to serve humanity? Literally, there's going to be such a need to literally save lives in the years to come. You know, today, not only the years to come. Can we be empowered to literally save physical lives? And if we can do that, that is, you know, saving a life is the biggest service we can offer. So we all have to develop our healing power. We all have to receive the empowerments we can receive, such as I have received. And, you know, unity also is to recognize, as you've said, the true essence of everyone and everything, the original nature of everyone and everything, which is our pure nature. We're just clouded over by all this human stuff, right? Our hearts are not fully open. We have competition, jealousy, ego. Our minds are negative, right? But if we can slough all that off, if we can let go of all that, Ho'oponopono, forgiveness, you know, if we can let go of all the hurt, the harm, the anger, the revenge, then yes, oneness and diversity, the oneness at the core of everyone and everything. And, you know, we have to adapt too, right? We have to reach different audiences, different people in different ways, because not everyone obviously is going to resonate with everything any of us says, any of us does. We have to find ways to reach more of humanity in the ways that they're ready and open to receive and accept.
Yes.
So I could go on, but I'll stop here.
Thank you very, very much. I love the point that you made that everything in matter, everything of our physical world has energy and life, that everything emanates vibration. And it's people now coming out of the structure of just being in buildings, doing their 9-to-5 kind of life, and going home and getting in front of the TV and getting up the next day and starting it over again. People are now, because of the chaos of the world and all of the particular things that are going on, are now coming out of those boxes and are asking questions and looking for answers. I think that more than ever, it is a better time and a more powerful time for us to actually bring our event into the world and allow people to come and hear something different, and to allow each and every person to accept their individual differences. But when I work and when the world gets very complicated for me, I go about nature and I find the simplest piece of nature that brings me beauty. If we would understand that everything is communicating, and I think Jennifer said that so well in her terms, if we accept that everything is vibrating, as your master teaches, and if everything has great life and purpose, and we respect that, we cannot harm each other, right? If we respect that, we could never harm each other. And that's where I feel World Parliament is taking us, to just be an audience of a person's difference, to respect it, and if possible, to understand it. And I thank you so much for being a part of that. Your message was beautiful. And I want to say to all of our speakers, I don't know how Dr. Yugandhar lined up the first session and the second session, but it's unfolding like a beautiful masterpiece, right? And I'd like to say to Satyen, when you stood by that lake and you did your exercise and practice with us, I was in Canada. I was standing right there by you. Okay, I could smell the water and I could feel the actual dampness on my skin. You have such a beautiful power, young man, to draw people in to your words and your heart. And there's no more beautiful place to be than inside that sacred space that you create. I am ever so grateful that you have joined us in our world event and that you've brought your beautiful voice and energy to it. My question to you is, when you're working and you're seeing all of the particular turbulence that you actually taught us a technique to work with, do you see that we are coming to a place where humanity is now going to seek its own adventure into the higher realms of acknowledgement and consciousness? Do you see that in your work?
Thank you, grandmother. Yes, at this time, in this place, I feel there's a great quickening that's happening on the earth plane. There's a great quickening in consciousness. And so there are many who are still in deep ignorance, yet their willingness, the veil between them being open and receptive to depth, receptive to spirit, receptive to the spiritual voice that we all are expressing, is at its highest now because of the calamity and chaos. And so we as spiritual leaders and guides and mentors, I believe this is our most opportune time to be grounded in the abundance of all that we have received from wisdom and the great masters. And as Alan was saying, this is the time to spread fully in a bold way, not in the old way of silent, wait till they come to us. I believe in this quickening, in the movement from Kali Yuga to this new energetic field, that our voices can be even more grander, speak with more boldness, more courage, but coming from the place of inclusion. Usually when we speak boldly, it's about strength. How about speaking boldly and inviting boldly each other to the human family, the divine family that we are? This is the time for us. The quickening is upon us. Do we meet the quickening or do we deny it? Do we join the quickening that the great unfolding is happening and lend our support to this grand awakening? Or do we deny and stay in our small pocket of our everyday lives? This is no longer tolerable, I believe. So when we ask ourselves, what have I been tolerating in my everyday automatic life? What have I been tolerating that I no longer want to tolerate? And I believe this is a very important question to ask, because when we're willing to find, what have I been tolerating? I've been listening to this inner message to let go of this job, to start something new, or to expand, but I've been tolerating just being okay where I'm at. Let me no longer tolerate my closure, my smallness. Let me listen to the call of spirit that is moving me. Let me engage with otherness, with others. Give the gift of myself as best as I can. We do not have to be world changers. We don't have to be world leaders. We can do a little act of awakening daily. This is how I feel we need to join the movement that's happening for us all on the earth plane.
I hear you. And that's so very powerful. And I want to say to all three of you, you have come forth with whatever brought you to our event. And I ask you to consider your voice is globally needed. Tell Master Shah we need so much of his message and his love. And we appreciate so much that you are his messenger and you've brought that to us, Alan. And Satyan, keep taking us by the lake. Keep letting us experience your reality. You broadcast it so strong. Stay with us and let us walk those who are still hungry, those who are seeking, those who are lost. I find it every day. I see it in such deep, deep suffering. We are here not only lifting consciousness, we are healing suffering. We are lifting people from ignorance. And that is very important in all of your messages. I thank you so much for that. And I would like to speak to you, Jennifer. I have had many, many wonderful, beautiful encounters with you as we've danced all over this world together here and there. And you still do it. You still put such complex science into such beautiful, simple ways to digest and to apply. It's one thing that in our hearts, we know what we seek. And often our heads and the confusion of our mind and the many voices that we've picked up over our lifetime, sometimes that begins to argue with what our heart is telling us. But in your beautiful presentations, you help us look beyond that argument, and you give us fuel for that argument to where we can actually explain it to ourselves in chemistry and in physiology. And when we can do that, sometimes that puts the confusion of the mind unrest, and then we can pursue it from a much larger understanding of us. It is so beautiful in my life to walk the simple way. I have made sure that always my work and my service is purely from the heart, not from the need to be famous or popular or accepted, but to serve even the smallest of hunger and need. So even the little frog is very important to me. Even the little ant is something I cannot harm. And in everything that you teach us, you show us from the micro to the macro perspective of it, how important it all is and how we are spiraling. You have come a long ways in the years that we have not seen each other in how you have taught that. I used to attend your wonderful teachings on food and how to work with food and health and everything. You've come into now to where you know so much more than that. Please, beloved, beautiful sister, maintain your teachings and bring them with us. Stay close to us and help us launch this. You were there in the first parliaments. You know how far and how hard the work is. We are coming now to where the numbers of us are getting strong enough that we can take this even further around the globe. Right now, just to know that we are actually being able to reach the voice and the heart in the people of 100 million people in 200 countries. Okay, to know right now that on 6 continents you're being viewed. What better opportunity could any of us have sitting in our small space to reach out and wrap our arms and our heart around the world? You're doing that. I have no words of gratitude that are large enough to say how wonderful this time with you has been. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting us and being here. Stay strong. We need you along the way.
Thank you, Parisha. Thank you so much, grandmother.
Michael, I think Dr. Yugandhar was here for a split second, but I know he's taking care of a lot of technology.
Yeah, it's funny because not funny, it's entertaining. I'm sitting here being entertained. I'm supposed to be moderating and I'm listening to all of this wisdom. It's wonderful.
Exactly. Along the service, we learn, don't we? As long as we're serving, we are gathering. Right. Our baskets are large. Yes.
It just brought back to me when I was in China, I had a friend who told me that there's an ancient saying that says it's actually a curse, and it says, "May you live in interesting times." And I think this qualifies.
I would agree. I think we would all agree. Yes.
And that out of the word chaos in China is the pictogram for opportunity. So we seem to all be looking at this chaos that we're living in as this wonderful opportunity. And that just, absolutely, me, it's like, wow.
Dr. Yugandhar, do you have some things you would like to say to our 3 speakers?
Yeah, my pleasure, grandmother. So it's a great pleasure to meet the vital Jennifer Huff and the most centered Alan Chuck with a chuckle always on his face. And the wonderful Raja, Satyen Raja, the king of truth. Satyen in India means truth. Raja means king. He's a king of truth. So wonderful, Satyen. I've been listening to your talks. The warrior sage, the true warrior sage. So a combination of warrior and a sage. A warrior is a ferocious, not actually violent, but ferocious, very focused. And he's a person who thinks that anything can happen to any time to anyone. So he's always ever ready. That is what is a warrior. So I love this word warrior. So, and you added a word sage, warrior sage. So it gives him peace, centered. grounded, rooted. So a person who is rooted alone can become warrior. So I love this word, your phrase, warrior sage. Thank you very much. So here with what we have done, Satyen, Jennifer, and Alan, the main aim and vision of the World Parliament is to transform the whatsoever individual or scattered activity or sporadic activity or any random activities whatsoever, with the help of few individuals or few groups or communes, leading to or transforming into small family, communes, and a real global family. What we are aiming at is the same. We are building a real global family. We want everyone. And the World United is not governed by any single individual. The individual-centric, the person-centric models, we are not adopting at all. We have taken up a vision-centric model where the vision is our boss. Vision is our Raja. Vision is our Satya, the truth. So the space is the real governing entity. So, and it is not governed by any organized philosophy. We are open to all ideas, connecting all the dots, connecting all diversities, connecting all the pockets of wisdom wherever it is. And today, at this moment, we have covered 170 countries till this hour. Speakers have come forward representing 170 countries. And we have another 40 days with Africa and Asia. Definitely, we will cover 30 more countries for sure. And next year, the plan is to open up with 10,000 thought leaders, 10,000 spiritual leaders. Country-wise, we want to do a global transformation festival that we have already started. And we are also created something called as Council, the World United Council, continent-wise, country-wise, depending upon their interest, theme, contribution, whatever. So I would like to talk about all these things later, a little later. And I personally, very, very specially invite you for valediction. This is my very personal invitation. Alan, Satyan, Raja, and Jennifer, wherever you are, whether you're in front of your lake or whether you are teaching, kindly take a break for a few minutes. Whether you are healing so many people, Alan Check, kindly take a break for a few minutes at 12 p.m. Day 5, that is Monday, 23rd of December, November. So please join for valediction, where we all assemble and launch the cosmic party together. So, yeah, Master Shah, 2 hours back, he has sent a message through Cynthia about his topic for Asia and all. He has been in touch with me. We never left the contact. And thank you, Jennifer. I cannot forget you. Thank you very much.
That was 4 p.m. Monday Pacific time.
12 p.m. Pacific time.
Thank you.
Approximately. Yeah. So I will share all these links of council member, all these things. I would like to hear from you as well. I would like to hear inputs whatsoever that you would like to give to shape and add your energy, your wisdom to what is going on. So herewith, I am also very thankful to Grandmother Parisha for being a tower of strength. She is the real might of inspiration. She is the real might of wisdom and the real pillar, a great pillar of this unity consciousness movement that is building. It's a great fortune. It's a great fortune and a milestone, I can say. Her seriousness and passion for this unity consciousness is definitely a milestone in this moment. And I request each one of you to let us be a milestone for ourselves. It is the World United, as I told, is not a company or anything, no individual centric ideas. So we all can give shape, we all can sculpt and give a proper shape as per the collective vision the world needs. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
Mike Deller, if you would like to ask anything to our once esteemed speakers, grandmother.
I'm still interested in something that Alan, you said earlier when you were talking about the chaos and what's happening in the world today. And you said something about or I think the way you said it was, we have to talk to people on the level they can understand. And it seems to me that that's a key point, because if we want to expand this vision globally, we have to sell it. We have to become marketers. We have to become salespeople to sell this vision. And so I think it's interesting. How should we market it? How should we market this vision so that all those people out there who are into competing rather than cooperating, how do we get them to look at this side of the coin? That's
that's an excellent question. I wish I had the answer, because that's the same question that my colleagues have been asking for some time. You know, in this time of the pandemic, we're doing everything virtually now. And so that in some ways makes it more difficult to, we can't go physically connect with new organizations, new contacts, things like that. But I really don't have the answer. We're experimenting with different types of messaging. We're definitely trying to get away from, sometimes we fall into our own jargon that we understand, but the general public wouldn't necessarily understand or even resonate with, right? So we're trying to simplify our languaging and messaging and make it as accessible as we can, but we're still in our learning process ourselves. So if anybody else has some good suggestions, I would love to hear them.
Jennifer, go ahead. I saw you put your finger up there.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've
talk louder though, so you're.
You know what? I just got this new mic, so I have to speak into my new mic. So anyways, what's really interesting is I got to get used to it. Is that recently in the last couple of years, I've actually been involved in a couple of movements. One of my really good friends is someone who was involved in creating Global Earth Day. Well, I have a couple of friends, and I've learned a lot from them. They're geniuses. And what they taught me is that oftentimes when one of the pieces in marketing or in creating a movement that's global, one has to keep in mind that you can't be against anything. So it speaks a little bit to what Satyen was talking about earlier. You can't be against anything. So I call it, in our vernacular, we call it a third entity. There's the contrast, there are all the sides, right? There's the sidism that we have going on in the world right now. And then those sides create, in physics, they create several solutions that transcend sidism, that actually speak to everyone as a whole. And in physics, if you can get, in reality, in 3 dimensions, if you can catch up to what that contrast is creating, and you speak that in your marketing, it will at very least not exclude anyone. People might choose not to join in. A good analogy would be the difference between Greenpeace and Earth Day. Well, there's lots of people that have problems with Greenpeace, that are like, oh, they're crazy, or whatever. I don't, but other people might. But on Earth Day, who doesn't want to be for the Earth? Do you see what I mean? So that's like a third entity solution. And so when we're moving towards something that's desired, and we want to be very cognizant and aware as we choose languaging, because even the idea of a global awakening or us all being enlightened, that doesn't mean it's going to get rid of contrast. Contrast is part of who we are. That's how we create. We have contrast. So the language matters a lot, because we have to, so the second piece I would add is it has to be aligned with the laws of physics. It has to be aligned with the laws of the universe. It can't mean that everything is flowing in harmony and we all sing Kumbaya and everyone agrees. Everyone's not going to agree, but we can all respect the contrast and the beauty that we create by being individual expressions of, creation. And in that, it's got to be that inclusive, the language of that marketing. So so it's interesting that you would ask that question.
That's very good and very, very, we appreciate that very much in sharing, because at this point, what we're doing and in our growth, we're having to look at the many things that seem totally innocent or uncluttered in our minds that someone else will read and see something else in it. And so our whole picture, we have to be a window that has no hangings in it. We have to have, no sign in it. We have to have just a message and the invitation of that message. And as long as they see no particular earmark that actually scares them off or changes their mind, we will have greater audience and more people participating. This is why it's so important how Dr. Yugandhar has set it up that each attending speaker is the particular decor of that moment in that room, in that window, that those many voices is simply a person traveling through time at a very rapid space, don't you think? And that at that moment, they're receiving all these various perspectives of something. And sooner or later, something's going to touch their heart, and that's going to be the particular doorway they walk into. And so really very clear in what Michael's asking, I totally support that. We have to be very careful in our particular invitation that we're not putting things out there that people will identify as certain this and certain that, and therefore not listening to the opening of all that's being offered. And so I deeply appreciate your clear perspective on that. I think Satya, did you have your hand up? Satya? Okay.
Yes, thank you for what you just shared. Absolutely. Working with younger people, 20s, 30s and such, one of the things is that wisdom has been eroded from its coolness. At one time when we were younger people, to meet a wise person, an enlightened person, was an altruistic pursuit. Let's find them, let's meet them, let's receive their wisdoms. Nowadays we see spiritual teachers in commercials selling chocolate, like it's been made fun of or jokingly wisdom. So I believe we need to reestablish wisdom as the seat of our power. Right now in the world, it's money, it's power, it's the trappings of the ego and power brokering and such, which has become vogue. Young people go, wow, that looks cool. That looks very powerful. I want that. And depth has gone down. So how do we heal this? How do we come back to depth? Well, if we look at what happened we look at the audio cassette. At one time, the audio cassette was the pinnacle of our advancement. And then when the CD came along, we didn't have to poo-poo the audio cassette. This was so substantially better in so many ways that there was a natural movement away from this old model to the new model without making a problem of the old model. In the same way, I believe, as Jennifer was saying, we're not against the audio cassette. Let's be for wisdom. Yes. So I believe what we are doing here, gathering people of great wisdom, of life experience, the more we can make this more cool, more accessible, bringing youth, bringing all ages, addressing all ages, addressing women's issues, addressing men's issues, and going directly, not just speaking from high up transcendental wisdom, but meeting people, as Alan was saying, where they're at. Are you having problems with your relationship? Are you having problems with your self-esteem? And taking our wisdom and dialing it in for those and meeting them where they're at and giving them the experience that wisdom is really the path home and not these external trappings. So what must we do? We must cultivate our own character, our own charisma, our own depth, and be willing to share the value of depth, the seeking of sadhana, the enjoyment of a spiritual path as something cool, not something that old people do, not something that people do at the end of their life after they've enjoyed the success of life, but having them understand that the true fullness of the success and fulfillment of life is embracing the wisdoms of our elders and making that the most coolest thing. How we can do that, it'll be our own individual play, our joy, but it requires us to come down from our pedestals, our ivory towers, and to joyfully meet people where they're at in the full exuberance of the wisdom we have to share.
So powerful, so very powerful. And what I've learned in my many travels, there's not a solid soil on this planet that my feet have not touched. In every place I've gone, I have family, because I did not enter there telling them how they had to be or giving them their answers. I went there as a guest, learning and actually watching and observing and respecting. And at some point, I've gathered something from every place I've ever been. When I go into any community, I respect how they worship. I respect how they live. I respect the rules or the particular cultural traditions. And then I have to blend in. See, I am the element of newness. I am the intrusive one when I walk into that. I cannot expect them to bow to me, to cater to me, to wonder and help me. They do automatically. Everyone tries to host, right? But for me to be willing to just be with them is the rewards I get, because see, then I learn of them. I can love them very easily. Then I become part of them and I carry them always with me. So it's this window that Dr. Yugandhar and I are trying to do with the world parliaments, is open that window, allow there to be family. We are humanity. We are humanity. And it is us that have to learn of our sacredness and expand our consciousness. Everything in the universe vibrates at the given pulse it must hold. It is man that is still questioning. We can all agree that. But if we give them the many perspectives, if we walk them around the elephant and let them see the whole of the elephant, someplace within that will touch their heart and they will begin to open and look. So I truly, truly know that you all are on the same channel, and that we know that we have to not scare people away with trying to preach to them or immediately act like we're trying to indoctrinate them to anything. We allow them to just simply drink of the waters of our love and our nurturing, and allow them to find what it is that they can take with them that will begin to walk them through the particular process of consciousness that brings us beauty and joy and happiness. I totally celebrate that the three of you do all that you can to help lift suffering, and that you know joy and harmony is within the song we sing, and that what we give is love. You do it in your many magical different ways. But I so appreciate that you're helping us see we must make sure that our window has no dressings that would chase anyone away. We need to actually make sure that each one of you, I cannot imagine anybody, no matter what their walks in life, with all of the millions of people I know, all three of you have touched a truth. As Michael keeps expressing, each one of you have opened a person's life. And when you say, Sati, we save lives, yes, you do. Even if they live but one more day with greater hope and love, and they have been touched, so have they lived an eternity. So I thank all of you for that. Dr. Yugandhar, do you have more you would like to say?
Yeah. So with this grandmother, wisdom has to rule the world, not wise men.
I cannot hear you. Are you speaking to me? There's cracking going on.
Okay. Oh, I see. Can you hear me now?
Sounds.
I see. Okay, I'm not aware. Wisdom should rule the world. Wisdom should rule the world. not the wise men. There is no competition for wisdom, but lot of competition for wise men. So when we all move from this wise manship to wisdomship, I think the real awakening happens. When we move from this, as I was saying, I-ness to easiness, the real transformation
Agree.
takes a different frequency, altogether a unperceivable higher frequency. I think I personally feel talking to so many people across the world, the time has already come.
Mhm.
It is only a physical manifestation that we have to excitedly, in a sense of awe, in a sense of wonderment, need to wait for this unfolding. That's all. Everything is happening in right way, in right direction. Right people are joining. So we all differ with how we do things, never with what we do. Everyone wants peace in the world. Everyone wants harmony in the world, but we differ in how to bring peace, how to bring harmony. My way is the right way. My way is the best way. We all want peace, but my way, that keeps us separated, that keeps us different. So uniqueness is a form of ego for me. So nothing wrong in being unique, but that fine separation between uniqueness and sense of ego need to be understood properly. And this makes a huge shift. So I think we should keep forward all our teachings, connecting all the people, connecting all wonderful masters across the world, join hands in true spirit. I think we will create wonders in this lifetime.
Yes.
Dr. Uganda, may I share something?
Please.
While you were speaking, I got this image in my head of each one of the speakers in this conference like a tool in a toolbox. It's our, I'm going to say our because I'm speaking right now, but it's the speaker's responsibilities to be the best tool they can be. If you're a chisel, you want to be sharp. If you want a pliers, you want to be well greased. Every one of our speakers has a responsibility to be the best they can be. So not only do they have to work on their inner selves, we have to work on our packaging too, because we have a big role to play. So I see us like toolbox, and you're like, you and grandmother are like the master craftsmen who are moving this whole thing forward. I get crazy sometimes, but this was my image. We're tools. We have to be the best tools we can be, and we have to have no ego because no tool has an ego.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So I think Mike Deller, as a moderator, what you like to do? Time is over. We have something.
I just want to thank everybody. I think this has been a wonderful discussion. I think that we have had a good chemistry, good exchange, and I want to thank everybody for being here, for participating. You made my job easy. So even my klutzing around worked out okay. And grandmother, your wisdom, each of you, your wisdom's just too much to take in. Love you all.
So thank you, grandmother. Thank you, Satyan. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Jennifer, Marian, Mia, and the United.
Thank you, family. I'm
Thank
so
you.
moved.
Thank you, family.
Everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I would like to take 1 second, Dr. Yugandhar, to please
please.
thank all Please, I give absolute appreciation to all our staff and our technical people, all the wonderful, beautiful beings that are behind the scenes here, that are doing everything that makes it possible for us to touch and reach each other through this technology. They all work many long hours. They all give their
Yes.
heart and their souls to this. And I want you to know that I love you very much. And I'm very, very grateful for all you've done for us. Your message carries us on the winds. Be blessed. Wado.
Yes. Yes, they deserve.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There's always 10 times more behind the scenes than what we
Yeah.
can see.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Love you all.
Bye-bye.